I would like to have a cue if it's good for me to start. Can someone just give me a cue?
We are live.
Okay, great. All right, is everyone okay in here? Yeah, okay, great. Well, good evening and welcome everyone to this incredible discussion that we are going to be having with some of the most important individuals, the movers and shapers of the Malaysian arts industry. Today in our discussion, we are going to be talking about keeping Carnatic art flowing through pandemic times, the Malaysian perspective. First of all, I am entering this chat with a huge sigh of relief. We made it. All of us made it. I'm so happy to see this incredible panel that is here virtually. It's I know that we're going to have a really, really good discussion today and a very deep discussion about this. And let's just start by introducing the panelists. First of all, I'd like to welcome Encik Salehhuddin bin Muhammad Salleh, Deputy Director General, Policy and Planning from JKKN. Welcome, Encik Salehhuddin.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very proud that I could contribute for this session.
Well, we are definitely, it's our honor to have you on board. And we're also glad that we are on the other side of the pandemic and we have some serious issues to discuss in today's session. Thank you for joining us, Encik Salehhuddin. Next, it is my absolute pleasure to invite Datuk Ramli Ibrahim, founder of Sutra Dance Theatre and Sutra Foundation, to this panel. Hi, Datuk, how are you doing?
Hi, thank you very much. Great to see all of us together to discuss as much as possible on this issue.
It's good to see you too, Datuk. Welcome to the other side of the pandemic.
Thank you.
And I would like to introduce Encik Ayob bin Ibrahim, a lecturer in the Faculty of Music from ASWARA. Hello, Encik Ayob.
Hello, greetings from the music faculty, ASWARA. Nice to meet you all. Thank you so much for inviting us.
It's our pleasure. And I would like to warmly welcome Dr. Paranjothy, President of the Temple of Fine Arts.
Hello, welcome. Thank you for inviting Temple of Fine Arts, Sugam Karnatika. Thank you.
And last but not least, one of the main pillars behind Sugam Foundation, Ms. Sujietra Jayaseelan. Thank you, Ms. Sujietra, for bringing all of us together to get started on this discussion that is vital in the current state of the art industry in Malaysia.
Namaskaram and salam sejahtera. Thank you and very warm welcome to all the panelists. Yeah, thank you for being here with us. It's our pleasure, absolute pleasure to host this. Thank you.
All right, so as we step into the session today, I would just like to keep this as informal as possible. I would like to speak as like art itself, from our hearts about what we have been going through, what the pandemic has done to us and our beloved art industry, what it continues to do, the challenges and what we're planning to do in the future. Okay, so at any point in time, none of these questions are directed to one or the other. To everyone who is on the panel, please feel free to step in, to unmute yourself and share your opinion in regards to certain topics, as we are spending very little time in each topic. All right, now let's start. Who would have thought that somebody eating a bat in a land far away is going to cause so much of turmoil worldwide? COVID-19 has changed all of us. And most importantly, I feel like the art industry has been impacted a great deal. Let's first start by sharing what are some of the challenges that each one of you has faced as an art practitioner, as a teacher, as a facilitator, as an institute during the pandemic period. Perhaps I would like to start with Miss Sujietra.
Oh, okay. I thought I would be last. Okay. All right. The Arts Institute, I will speak on behalf of the Institute itself. So if you see, like in Sugam, we had, of course, definitely a lot of challenges, right? That's your question, right? What are the challenges? Okay.
Yes.
So a lot of challenges, mainly because, as far as the foundation is concerned, we have, wait, I'm just trying to highlight myself. Add spotlight. Okay, all right. Okay. So as far as the foundation is concerned, we run projects. So this MYICMF is one of the ones that we did during the pandemic last year and this year. I can't stop. I don't know where to start in terms of challenges, but we also run an art school, Sugam Karnataka. And the art school, what were the challenges? Students were dropping out like, like birds falling off the tree, not because they wanted to stop. Parents were losing their income, and we had to, students were dropping out. So definitely revenue goes down, but overheads stay, overheads, there was no change in overheads because you still have to maintain the staff, and whatever number of children, you still pay your teachers, you maintain your premises and your venue. So our challenges was we had 2 different buildings. We gave up one halfway through. And right now we only have 1 building. So that was quite, it's quite devastating because we were in that particular premise for the last 10 years. So definitely it impacted us in terms of sustenance. So for me, that was the biggest challenge because you still need to pull through with high spirits. You just need to pull through, even though you have lost a very, very big chunk of revenue, and not giving up on the staff, because they also have families. Teachers have families, so we need to make sure everybody is paid so that we just keep everyone intact, at least in our small circle. So that was a very challenging period. It's still challenging because still things have not really come back to normal per se. So I do not know about new norm, but as far as challenges are concerned, so that was the difficult part. Yeah.
And I would like to move on to Datuk Ramli Ibrahim. How have you been keeping Sutra afloat amidst this chaos of a pandemic?
Datuk, you're muted.
Excuse me, Datuk, I think you're muted.
Well, thank you. It's the same with Sujietra because there's a loss of income, there's a loss of activity, students are not coming. All of that. We are not able to travel overseas. A lot of our performances are overseas. So, that part of that is experienced by most people except by the civil servant, I guess. But I somehow, Sutra and I have kept ourselves extremely busy. We've kind of streamlined our office. We've done incredible renovations. We've cleaned up all our files, all our storerooms, and all that kind of thing. We were fortunate in the second MCO that we had a kind of a very interesting project from OTAC to produce 17 online works, and I was the artistic director of 13 of this, of online virtual presentations of videos, short videos spanning music, dance, traditional and modern in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. So that took us much through that MCO, preparing for that. And just before the third MCO, we were able to produce again live our production that has been postponed almost 3 times. So fortunately, we had it on a relatively large theatre with SOP at the Civic Centre. So things like that, it happens that I keep on doing all kinds of things online, not as much teaching as webinars and things like that. So it kept us very, very busy. Sometimes when I'm able to have live classes with just very senior students, senior dancers, looking at old varnams that we have not done for a long, long time, looking at old works that we have done a long time. So I kept reading. There's a lot of reflecting. I managed to do an exhibition of paintings that went very, very well. Things like that. So we survived, and I think one of the major objective of this pandemic is to survive it. And I think now, as the pandemic rolls on and we are opening up, it is about time for us to think what is next on the line, because we have to think of post-pandemic now, where Sutra is concerned. So there you are, I hope we survive, and of course we relate. We keep communicating with as many artists, dancers, theatre people, fashion designers as much as possible. I had lots of small dinners with many people because we have to keep ourselves together. That's it.
Thank you, Datuk Ramli. Okay, so just on the same topic, with a little bit of a twist for Encik Ayob. So we've been talking about challenges faced, and I think these sort of challenges, especially when it came to sustainability of arts, sustainability of any sort of business, I think Ms. Sujietra and Datuk Ramli they both have covered it well enough. And for your and Encik Ayob, I would like to know, like post-pandemic, I believe that this has kind of caused a shift in the thinking of young people who want to join the arts industry, because now they see that just considering what a big impact the art industry has faced during the pandemic, they are shying away from committing to a career or an education in the art and performing arts per se. Have you felt this, Encik Ayob? Do you see less students interested in joining ASWARA?
I will speak in the Faculty of Music perspective only, because throughout the years, I think before and during the pandemic, the applications are about the same, maybe a little bit less in terms of real numbers, but it's quite surprising me, because the numbers are still there. And we have a hard time to choose and to select based on the audition. And this time around, ASWARA in the music faculty, we tighten up our our audition, because we want to select the best. For those who think the pandemic is giving the bad impact for the art creative industry, I don't think so. Art is for people who have the passion, come or whatever. If you love art, you still love art. But if you want to think, is this going to guarantee your future, become in any discipline, doesn't guarantee you to become successful, right? You study law, it doesn't mean your future is guaranteed better, right? So we can see lawyers and whatever professions all get this negative impact out of this pandemic. And same goes to the art industry, the creative industry especially. Of course, the musicians, they cannot perform. My students, the good one who graduated already from ASWARA, I used to watch them performing at the 5-star hotel, at the clubs, at the pub. But yeah, we have to face this unprecedented situation where you can't perform anymore. So they opt to delivery, Grab food and Grab driver and all that, and they know this is only for a while, and we all hope this pandemic will be over sooner or later. But life, life goes on. And I think, in terms of numbers, we have quite substantial numbers of people who apply and to enter ASWARA. That's all I can say for now, sis.
That sounds wonderful to me, because I was afraid that people will stop paying attention or pursuing their passion in arts post-pandemic. I'm really, really happy that, those who really mean to stay in this industry are still pursuing it. I would like to move to Dr. Paranjothy. Dr. Paranjothy, so Temple of Fine Arts, besides being a house to hundreds of students, art students, you also provide a venue facility where the community around you has actually had, they have had the honor and pleasure to use your facilities, the venue, for all sorts of events, concerts, comedy shows. And these 2 years, that facility has, I'm assuming, has not been used. And that must have been also a big impact for TFA. How are you handling this, Dr. Paranjothy?
Yeah, thank you, Shangkaree. Basically, Temple of Fine Arts was started by a monk. Now, by definition, a monk has no interest in life. Basically, he goes in for meditation and so on. But unusually, our founder was a Swamiji who had all the interest in the arts. In fact, he gave us the direction that arts is a way towards a higher spiritual realization, whatever way you want to call it. So that has given us an impetus that it's not just a mere part-time hobby, you take it at a deeper level. So it was with his inspiration, so to speak, that all our devotees managed to beg, borrow, but not steal, and put up this huge mammoth building here. And so with this pandemic, we have to continue serving the loans on which we took this building. This was not given to us in a platter by some big, entrepreneur or a billionaire. It was hard-earned loan money, and we have to pay. So when we have to pay, we depend on students. We depend on our sister projects. Our restaurant, our auditorium, as you rightly mentioned, which was shut almost for 1 year at least, partially shut maybe for another year. So all this side income was not there. So we had to go to the bank and ask them for a moratorium to reschedule the payments. We had to tell our staff, you have to forgo your salaries, or you have to reduce your salaries. Not that they are paid very much according to market rates, but still, as Mr. Ayob said, it's all of them are there for the passion, and for the certain amount of inner direction, wanting to serve the arts and the community. You see, so that's one thing. And then there is an absence of physical class. There was no, because of this MCO, we couldn't come, we couldn't have any physical classes. So how did we survive? Therefore, we had to improvise. Necessity is the mother of invention, they say. So we have to go digital. And we are not masters in it. Just switch the button and we try different types on to hire Zoom, and we found that was the most viable So then the teachers had to, some of them are old, some of them are young. The young ones are able to catch up with this digital era very fast, but the so-called older ones, you know, give it time. They are also not so fast in catching up, but somehow they adapt. The students have to adapt. So over the digital platform, using their smartphone or their tablet or their laptop or whatever, we have to function and retain the students. There is always a dropout and still retain the students. So then how else? How else? We have to, somehow our IT volunteers had to put up a small little broadcast station in the Temple of Fine Arts, through which some of the students and teachers come there and teach using the digital platform. So these are some of the difficulties we encountered, but as somebody said, I don't know who, was it Ramli or I wonder someone, we had to stay afloat. We have to stay afloat.
Yes.
Survive. We are all private sector people dependent on the goodwill of the public and very much dependent on the goodwill. And then again, the public also, as you mentioned earlier, some of them fathers were, and still they send their children to do the arts, as your life's wantings. Art is, your food and shelter comes above all this, But at the same time, many of us feel that, as Christ says, man doesn't live by bread alone. He needs something for his soul, and arts feeds your soul. The finer.
And there was something that was necessity. Like it became a necessity for us to just continue having this fighting spirit, something to inspire us, just like the arts has been doing it, and music has been doing it for us for centuries now.
Yes.
So I'm moving into the next topic that we are trying to tackle today. Sorry, I'm trying to keep time as well. And we are streaming live on YouTube, and there is a chat box open. So if any of our viewers have any questions directed to the members in our panel, please feel free to type out in the chat box. I'm reading it right now. Any comments, or if you want to share your thoughts as well, please feel free. We are all ears here. Okay, moving on to the next topic of discussion. It has been crazy because even for us civilians, like, do we go out to the restaurant? Are 2 people allowed in a car? And then suddenly there's three people allowed in the car. And the rules and regulations and restrictions kept shifting and changing faster than we could even keep up. It has been quite crazy. And I would assume that it is even more difficult for the arts industry that's trying to open their doors once again to welcome audience to come and watch shows, to welcome their students back in-house to practice physically and not just through the virtual world. And I would like to speak about this per se, as in what have been your strategies to ensure that life will go back to as close to normal as possible while adhering to the COVID-19 restrictions. Perhaps Datuk Ramli, can we start with you? I'm sorry, Datuk, you would need to unmute your video, please. Thank you.
I think one has to look at specific situation rather than generalize it. As far as I'm concerned, artists have to become almost kind of I don't want to say it almost like to survive, they have to become terrorist artists, because they just go in different kind of way in which in which to survive. So I mean definitely that's very, very true in terms of the SOP is changing left, right, and center, and you cannot really plan anything. And and then someone might have to be tested positive, and then you have to quarantine, and then you have to stop somewhere. I mean, there's just so many things. There's many things that can go wrong, will go wrong, during this time, and that's why the expectation cannot be too high. But we kind of just keep on going, hoping. I mean, now, for example, we are hoping that by January everything will be open, because there's so many. I mean, we have to start rolling. In fact, the world have to start really going on. I'm staying near Taman Titiwangsa, and there is a placard saying this is a red zone, and you can see that everyone is walking without their face mask, for example. So things like this, you really don't know where you stand sometime. Are you going to open the class totally for the young people who may not be vaccinated and things like that? So you do have to make certain decisions. I usually open the classes now for the senior dancers, and I for an artwork like Bharatanatyam Odissi, for me, that requires a very strong one-to-one relationship. What more, there's something is lost in digital teaching, where there seems to be a barrier between the student and the teacher. So I really just need to have the one-to-one. I need the physical class, and especially Sutra is really not. I just have very little interest in having more and more students, but not students who are really interested. If I'm to make money, then dance definitely is the wrong field to be in. So, I mean, fortunately, by now, I kind of gather the real sincere students around, and whenever there's time, we kind of work on something with that. And I have lots of articles that to be written, to be read, books to catch up on those things. So to survive, I think, Shangkaree, if you hit on the higher level, you be relatively all right. It is the middle ground and the lower ground in terms of things where you really kind of things that you really have to work very, very, very hard physically. But if you are, I think you are on a kind of more on what really is required in terms of the conception. Then you can take the time to conceive of the work. We don't have very high overheads in Sutra, so we don't have to really struggle like Sujietra having to lose one building or things like that, which can be traumatic. But we are fine in that sense. So we are strengthening our position by sitting down and not moving, but expanding other parts of ourselves.
Well, I've heard this saying, reach for the stars and you land on the moon. So I guess that is, if I could simplify your strategy to just get through all of this. Is that right, Dr. Ramli?
Well, to a certain extent, I've sort of increased my networking overseas. We have platforms, international platforms that we are interacting with, from even South America to India to Singapore, and so many places. They're just waiting for things to open, and by that time, I do work with the outreach program to make sure that the outreach kids, the B40 people, are all right, and all those kind of things. Yeah, you know, I mean, you do kind of. I think this is the time when you strengthened your inner self, inner landscape. You know, no point fighting the tsunami of the pandemic.
Very well said, Datuk. I would like to forward this next question to Encik Salehhuddin. And I can see that your field of expertise is in policy and planning. And I would like to know, Encik Salehhuddin, how much have you had to really try to, what were some of the strategies that you have had to put in place to make sure that there is a balance between ensuring that everyone is safe, the COVID-19 restrictions are met, but at the same time still making sure that art practitioners or any institutions like ASWARA and TFA and everyone else who is here stay afloat? What were some of the strategies? How did you just tackle this and negotiate a balance between these two?
Okay, as a government organization, we are quite lucky in that sense because of we have been given budget for the arts and culture and running programs nationwide. But of course, when it started hitting the era of lockdown, so we have a very big task actually to help the industry, the arts practitioners and the industry, creative industry, especially performing arts. Bigger task was, as you mentioned, strategize ourselves, strategize the business, how we still can work in a way, how that we can try to make the industry vibrant, even though lots of outlets close, performing arts center closed, imposed by Security Council of the SOPs, the do's and don'ts that you have to adhere towards what has been implemented and imposed by the government. The first task that we as an organization, JKKN itself, we are quite lucky in a sense because before the pandemic lockdown in the early part of March 2020, as a planning sector in the organization, we already actually slowly transforming into digital era. Right? As governments already that time in 2018, the IR 4.0, Industrial Revolution 4.0, digital, into going digital, and then they already launched the policy, digital policy, under the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. So 2 years back, we already planned going into this era, the new normal, I can say. Slowly, bit by bit, even though it's quite tough to get to bid budget from the ministry, but and also to convince them because it's in the very early stage of transformation. So some of our programs already go into digital. For example, I can say we already created a portal, or we call it cultural mapping, pemetaan budaya in Malay. So you can just Google pemetaan budaya. So you get, it's an information hub gateway on arts and culture. You just type whatever in the whole nation, you can get it information about performing arts, about traditional customs, food, and so on, and even to some other directory. So it's like a cultural inventory, the whole nation. So we build it slowly, bit by bit, and our library research R&D, we are going slowly into digital. We digitalize some of the research, some of the books, and also some of the articles and papers. So we go into digital. Plus, as documentation videos on ICH, Intangible Cultural Heritage, the whole nation. So slowly we are putting up into that. But when come to the lockdown, the most important thing is to help the industry. So we first step that we took were to identify impacted players, industry players, and try to come up to a proposal to the ministry. So these are the things that we need. First and foremost is dollar and cents. So how we can help the industry, and ministry through our minister debated in the parliament and also brought up to the cabinet ministers meeting, like moratorium for certain with banks or finance institution to help the industry, because the practitioners, they loan for their venues, they loan for their arts activities, like event companies, they still loan their equipment, things like that. So things are not moving, but we have to think creative, as Dr. Ramli mentioned, survival. We have to God, alhamdulillah, thank God that during the pandemic and then during the vaccination period, so we propose, and through the industry players as well, propose that we do something to mesmerize the area. So government has accepted, Security Council accepted. So we managed to convince to give chances to players, especially musicians, to perform at the vaccination center. So at least while people waiting, they have something to hear, nice music, so make them calm. So these are the things that we have to come up to a lot of creative ideas. Apart from that, we did a lot of hybrids program. For the first beginning of the total lockdown, no audience, no movements or so whatsoever. So we do all on digital. We record and we put up into social media. And then when things are about ease a bit, so we do a little bit of hybrid, live and online. And then when they stop it, they lock it again. So we go online totally. So these are the things that we do. So the industry also follow us, and then we did disseminated a lot of fund to the industry players, to the Association of Arts and Culture, to help them to run their activities, and also not on arts activities as well, but we became a social welfare department as well to help the industry player. We collect funds, and then we buy all those necessity for impacted industry player, giving some food and so on. So these are the things that we do. But in terms of performing, I tell you, this is a good time. Actually, pandemic taught us to be more resilient and also to be more creative. And a lot of activity, as we see now on social media, a lot of things they have been doing which you don't think actually, you don't imagine that this can be done. Yeah. So now they teach us. So every catastrophe is always produce a philanthropy, right? So there are some players are doing well now because of they know how to divert their businesses from like Ayob said, some of them became a Grab driver, produce food for so on. But still in the arts as well, we still fight for them. We still fight for budget for them, and then we still allocate certain amount of money for them to still work on their arts masterpiece. And then JKKN has 14 states branches in over Malaysia, and out of 14 states we have 11 we have our own complexes, whereby we have our auditorium. So we also offered giving them a free usage for the industry player to use the venue to record their program and put it on their whatever social media, whatever medium that they can. And also we has produced our own IPTV, JKKN TV. So we put everything into that, and then we gather everything. We digitalize most of our previous recording, previous research work into digital, and now we have produced our own television under not like normal broadcast system, but under IPTVs, internet streaming, and we put up into a program. And also we receive, another way of helping the industry is we offered programs whereby a small token of allocation that produce us a short videos, produce us a short arts program. So we commission them and we put it into our social media, our JKKN TV. So it become a content, digital content. And this is in a way that we do a little bit of creative work to help the industry players. So these are a lot of good things that have, thank God that pandemic actually gave us a lot of ideas to think. So I hold it to that first.
Well, thank you very much, Encik Salehhuddin. I can see that your department has been very thorough in thinking about different types, different ways that we could overcome these challenging periods and keeping the art scene alive. However, this is what is going to get very interesting in this panel, I believe, today. I would like to know if there has been any disparity between the planning, the extensive planning that, Encik Salehhuddin, your department and your team has done, and on the receiving end, the arts practitioners and teachers here who actually run Institute, how have you benefited from this plan? Perhaps I'll start with Ms. Sujietra, but to everyone else on this panel and also Encik Salehhuddin, you can go back and forth with this discussion. Ms. Sujietra, would you like to start? Can I please get you to unmute your video?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Shangkaree. Okay, so yeah, I actually resonate with mostly what everyone is saying. But before I answer that question in particular, can I just give you an overview? So just now we talked about challenges, right? So what did we do to stay afloat, I would say? So actually our motto was not stay afloat. We were basically, we had a motto, keep moving, just don't stop. So, right, just 2 weeks immediately after the lockdown in March last year, 1st of April, our school, the Sugam Karnataka school, we went virtual. Don't ask me how we did it, because actually we are also not techies, we don't know how to do this. I went for so many courses in the 2 weeks just to learn how to do it. But we only had one motive. We need to keep moving. We cannot stop. We cannot stop classes. We cannot stop anything. Our teachers of course, teachers took pay cuts, staff took pay cuts. But the thing is, we just needed to move. So we just moved entire operations to virtual. Somehow, I do not know, we survived, and we kept doing that, and we wanted to keep it as close to normal. So our school, what we do, every month we have got programs. So every program, we did not scrape out any program. We kept doing the programs, everything virtually. We just pretended, really we pretended like nothing was happening and life was going on, at least for the children. Because I can just imagine how the kids would have felt, at least parents, we had the chance of going out to the grocer. But for kids, they were just stuck at home. They cannot go anywhere, not even to the grocer. I do not know in other people's houses. It didn't happen in my house. My kid didn't even go to the porch, So we just needed to keep it normal for them, at least keep their mental health intact. At least then the parents can worry about everything else that's happening. So we just kept doing programs, and we came up with so many innovations. Honestly, we never even thought we could. We came up suddenly, out of the blue, rewind and refresh. Don't ask me what is that. Rewind and refresh we did just within 2 days, we said, let's do rewind and refresh. So we went live, and so many people from everywhere were watching. We'd rewind and refresh of basic lessons in music, just simply singing online. We even did like a lot of things, like some youth program, and then our normal programs we kept doing it. And then we also so when you say what is the bridge between the planning and here, see, when as far as the agencies, the government agencies, they are there like an umbrella body, you know, like to give us that kind of I would say support in okay, for instance. So when we write in, say, you know, we are going to do this program, we need the approval. It's very fast, very, very fast. In fact, we had so many praises from JKKN and even Chandana and all. They say, hey guys, you guys, you know, yeah, we will support, you know, just keep going, just keep moving. So that's the kind of support we are looking at, like, you know, like JKKN, when we write in, we say we want to do this particular thing, it's very fast, you know, they respond to us, they give us, they say, okay, you know, go ahead. In fact, when we were doing this MYICMF, everyone asked, how are you doing it? I said, don't ask, you know, we only have one motto. We have to keep moving. We cannot stop any program just because it's the pandemic. We cannot stop. We just do, whether it's a smaller scale or whatever, we keep moving. So when we wrote in, JKKN said, go ahead, do it. The first round, you know, they said, go, you know, proceed. Lulus, go, do it. So these are the kind of encouragement we received, and which also helped us to keep moving, you know. And we I would say that it also opened up new markets for us, in the sense that just now Salehhuddin said, you know, when you went virtual, we didn't realize we did a new intake in June last year, and the new intake, it was a global intake, you know. We had students from Jakarta, from Singapore, from Sabah, which before this, we are operating for the last 20 years. We've never had any children out of KL because we are located in PJ. Out of Klang Valley, we never had any student. But in that intake last year, in June, we had kids from everywhere. You know, kids were everywhere. Even, as I say, Jakarta also, we had so many children from there who joined, and they are with us till today. You know, so these are the new, I mean, if you want to say it in a business term, I mean, for us, this is not a business at all. Exactly what Datuk Ramli said. It's not something where you make money, you know. So I would say maybe this is our service. In this service for the last 20 years, but if you want to use a marketing term, then it opened up new markets. So just because we had that one key objective, that's all we had. We have to keep moving regardless. Okay, so I think I answered it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sujietra. Perhaps we can move on to Encik Ayob on the same topic. So we have had this extensive planning by JKKN. How have you benefited from this, or how have your students, you know, been saved or kept afloat with all of this planning? Or is there something more that could be added to this planning?
Yeah, as you know, ASWARA and JKKN, we are actually the agencies under the same MOTEC ministry. Yeah, so we have our own allocation to overcome these problems, and of course JKKN is helping a lot of practitioners, included our graduates, yeah, and students as well. But let me tell you, there's something bigger offered by this Ministry of Communication and Multimedia. For next year, I was told the program will be called this is for people who are in the music, especially, yeah, they call it Program Music Malaysia, where a lot of grants, I think hundreds of millions, going to be distributed to certain agencies, My Creative Ventures, Chandana, and all that. I was told that for the last this year or last year, not that many music people, especially the young generation, even older than that, applied for the grant. It's a grant, is not a loan, and come up with a music, your idea with a video for you to upload on the media social. There will be about 5 to 20,000, and you can apply it individually. Then tell who are you going to pay, how much you're going to pay him, then come up with a evidence of the payment, that you pay these people, and you easily will be given that grant. And I hope there will be more in any every cultural background to apply for that. You can check it out. Just Google around Program Music Malaysia under Kementerian Komunikasi and Multimedia. I was told for the budget next year, more allocation for the music. And of course, when you do the music, when you want to upload the video, there are opportunities, to show the dance or whatever, the acting parts or dance part in your video. Make it interesting. People will enjoy that, and at least we can sustain more or less, in terms of the our livelihood. And ASWARA, for ASWARA students, every students, we have these difficulties of that data to access the online class. Yes, we the government especially gives some bantuan, aids in terms of money. They can get about 275 ringgit for 6 months to take care of their expenses, to buy this data. But now the main problem, as a teacher, I can tell you that the internet coverage, the speed, this is all the number one problem talking about pandemic online teaching. I'm not going to another topic. In a family, you have children, everybody kena online. Primary school, I have my children, one primary school, one secondary school, one higher learning institute. Everybody needs access. I have 100 Mbps megabit internet. And if you check the speed test, it's just about 30, 40 most of the time. So it's not even 100. Then if I want 100, I have to upgrade the internet, 2 years contract, 300 Mbps. We have to spend more and more, and that is the main problem. The internet speed and coverage give us a lot of headache. Students can easily give up because lagging and stuck here and stuck there. They cannot listen to you, especially the one who music where we are teaching 1-to-1 lesson, like guitar. The teacher can't really hear your tone produced by your guitar or sitar or lute or whatever. Then we need some more gadgets then we need to spend more and more, and that is a really a situation that until now nobody can. The internet speed is not good enough. You imagine in Sabah, Sarawak and all that, the rural area. I pity them. I really pity them. Yeah, thank you.
That is an excellent and unique point of view. To be honest, I think I've heard more than one stories with struggles with internet speed or internet in itself. Having internet facilities in itself. And I know while the government has worked really hard to have this stimulus package where we could, try to do something to get internet, as it has become more of a necessity, I do agree with you, Encik Ayob. I don't think the prices should be that high anymore because necessities shouldn't cost that much. But I guess that's a different topic of discussion. But I'm hoping that Encik Salehhuddin, you will perhaps bring this up in your next meeting and see where you could take this forward with our current government.
Yeah, actually, when it comes to the digital world, these are the most important aspect that we have to look at very seriously. Recently, government has, I don't know whether it's true or false, I have not tried because I don't have that, we are already 5Gs. And government is already putting this into 5Gs, but it's as if that it was not well received also by the telcos. So I don't know what happened there. So the policy on communication should be very transparent, and government should, as the authorized body and the communication department, they should think it whatever must be, it has to be draft and work closely with the industry. So there's a dispute between the government and the telcos about 5G thing. So we are already forced to go into 5Gs. And I always listen to the radio saying that 5G is very fast speed, like what Cik Ayob mentioned, slow rendering. I have, my department faced this problem when we started our JKKN TV, IPTV, to upload videos, take hours, sometimes to even one whole 24 hours or 48 hours, just imagine. So time very consuming, and these are the things that we had, I don't know, we'll try our best to voice up this via proper channel to our ministry and through to us, to minister, so that they can be brought up in the cabinet ministers meeting, and also in the parliament, because these are the lawmakers. They should think about it seriously, because these are the very important infrastructure that we have to give, as you mentioned. The necessity, it has to be lower cost of, as you mentioned. You wouldn't know if you don't have the calipers to measure. Well, you mentioned 100 Mbps, but it's actually 20, 30. If you have, even I myself in my house, I have surplus of that, but sometimes it on and off, even though using optic cable, using the optic cable. So something wrong with our infra. I don't know. So for us to move, these are the things that complements a lot and enhance our activity. You give up if once things are not being well supported. As Datuk Ramli project with ministry, the Angin project, lots of doing online. So you just imagine things are not well in streaming facilities. So it will affect the performance. That's the bad part of it. But the good part about the technology, which also we have to receive and accept it, because using social media also another means of expanding your audiences. For example, you do a performance in an auditorium can accommodate 800 per performance. If you can manage to do 2, it's only 1,600. But once you do online, social media or whatever means, YouTube and so on, you get international audience, like what our friend said, that or international participation. My last Living Arts Culture Festival that runs from 29 October to the 1st of this November, it was an international program. We accept videos from international participation on the UNESCO list, and we put it on our programs. And in between, we put other activities like demos. So usually in the auditorium that I mentioned, Matic auditorium 400 for per persembahan. 2 will be 8, and if one night for 400, 3 nights, you can only get 1,006. But because of the international thing, because we put online, I have audiences coming from all over the world. So we have statistics. So this is another good thing about technology, good thing about putting on online, putting on social media. So we get international participation, even forum. And also during this time, we maximize the technology that we have, and we did a lot of talks, we did a lot of forums. Cross a border, sky is the limit. So this is another good thing that we must optimize and make full use of it, and using this platform so you can promote and market your product. So as I think I agree by all the panelists that nothing is possible, even though you are pressed by certain things, but you know how to find your way. As long as you have your creative mind, I think you can work very well.
Thank you, Encik Salehhuddin. Still on the topic of dollars and cents, I would also like to pick the brains of our two other panelists who have not said anything yet. Can I get the opinion of Dr. Paranjothy? Let's talk about the financing modalities, or some places how art practitioners can actually reach out for the finances that they need to continue performing and keeping their art alive.
Well, only three ways lah. One is you sell your product. That means you literally go for tickets. But if there is a moratorium or if there is a MCO, then we can't sell tickets. Then we have to go for sponsorship. Sponsorship means either from government or private sector. Now, government has got limited funds because they've got many people bidding for their little budget. So at the end of the day, even private sector during this pandemic times is very difficult. So you will find that our shows were almost zero. Coming to, where to put shows? We can't put shows anywhere. And our graduations or arangetrams, as we say, was put aside. Some of them had to do it very quietly as a digital arangetram. They just do it and then put it on the YouTube. So this is one of the methods. But again, as you say, innovative ideas. We started a platform called the Bindu, where we had short courses, a little 3-day course on Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice, or Romeo and Juliet, or how to sing Carnatic music or Tamil songs, or those kind of short courses, which was monetized. That means you just pay about 50 ringgit or 100 ringgit for 2-day course, 3-day course. And this went international, cross borders, as Sujietra said, and the people did buy it. And because with limited money, small, affordable is welcome. And they keep their brains active, So I am a doctor, I'm not an artist in that pure sense, but you must keep your mind active. Otherwise, it will go rusty. So these short courses had a very wide appeal, and then some of our senior teachers did international courses on Bharatanatyam, and that was quite welcome, And then we had one or two, like Jayaseelan Hasana, they came up with some program where we had to, the B40 students had to be taught certain, music and dance. But unfortunately, some of the children were really very, very young, and we could not teach them digitally. They were so poor that they couldn't afford a tablet or an iPhone to listen to this kind of teachings. So we had to write to the government to postpone it, and they quite graciously allowed us to postpone it. But I think the next year we have not completely completed that Jayaseelan Hasana program yet. So again, Chandana, there was one of our lecturers who did a project with Orang Asli, and she had no way of doing a physical show, but she had to do it as a digital show, and these are the kind, some grant was given through the Chandana, you know. So these are some of the methods we have to stay alive using the digital facility. Talking about internet speed and all that, there is a lot of efforts now to go into 5G. I hope it will come in soon, so that will speed up everything. Yeah, maybe I hope and wish that the private sector, as part of their corporate, some kind of help to arts institutions to sponsor some of their programs to the government's feet, you know. So I
Yes.
hope this some way, I don't know how, maybe tax reductions or some incentives can be given to them. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Doctor. I would also love to hear from Datuk Ramli Ibrahim about just, you've heard the whole discussion now, Datuk, from the beginning with the strategies and policies implemented, and also the ideation from JKKN, and also all the other strategies that has been practiced by other panelists. What do you have to say, Datuk Ramli? What do you think that this is enough? Do you think the arts industry needs more?
Well, I really think that there are very kind of hazy areas. When the government say that they are giving, say, 350 million to the arts, actually we don't really know how much is spent actually on sustaining salaries, and how much is actually left for the arts content itself. So you think that so much money, but actually to sustain, you know, in the arts industry, there are hundreds, 100,000, I think, at least, people in the arts industry that are being paid salaries, you know. So we really don't know. And when you talk about, when Encik Ayob talk about, oh, it's easy to go here and all that, but actually in the real world of the artists, there seem to be a very difficult to access funding, because the kind of forms that you have to fill, say in Chandana or My Creative and all that kind of thing, are extremely difficult to fill. So you almost have to get a professional person to do that, you know. So, you know, I mean, sometimes there are areas in which there is an extreme disconnect between the bureaucrats, the scholars, and the practitioners. And as much as you think that the practitioner, the artist, sometimes really suffer, and that suffering is really completely not felt by the scholars and the bureaucrats, because they are really having, you know, I mean, the kind of salaries that they have is incredibly so high. I mean, you just tell me how much is a director in Khazana or Hasana is taking. Probably it'll shock you compared to an artist, what this artist is getting. So there is a kind of disconnect. So nothing is easy. So when you do a program, an arts program, for example, sometimes it's no longer the artist that is important or the choreography is important, but the editor is important. You know, it's how you edit the work and all those kind of things that brings out something that is great. And as you mentioned about 5G or 4G and all that, at its highest level, it is really very, very difficult to teach the arts, whether it's music, dance and all that, at its highest level, where it requires the guru shishya relationship. What do you call the guru disciple relationship? Is at one-to-one at its highest level, whether it's piano or sitar or dance. If it's done just online, it's very, very difficult, really, I think, to get that. And yeah, there's many areas I felt on a it's not so honkadory just because you have a digital or artificial intelligence there, whereas that's why I said I rather sit down at the moment, because I realize that the aspect of humanity is the most important thing. And this is the very thing that is so difficult to teach and to disseminate to the artists, the students. And this is the very thing that the digital and artificial intelligence lag behind. So the quantity of people that see the performances, I mean, we've just did a program, Triambakam, and it's probably reaching 65K. But you cannot compare that kind of quantity to that 500 people that see the performance live, because that is, they got it really fantastically. You can feel that very well. So this is what I'm saying. You cannot compare that digital experience to the real experience.
Well, that's a very interesting point that you brought up, because this transition has made it, that is one thing about the art that is so important. I think at the very beginning of the discussion is because this is what is going to feed the hunger of our souls. This is what is going to give us the spirit to continue on. And while there is a wider reach, but then what happens to the essence of the connection, the guru sisha, the teacher and student? How do we sail through this challenge then, Datuk?
Well, this is the thing. This is the challenge, as you said, how to maintain that connection. But I think it is not only in dance. I think in all levels, and this is where again I believe Jack Ma said that in education, the digital technology and the artificial intelligence is like a tsunami will overtake us. The 5Gs, the 6Gs, and the 7Gs will come through. But how do we sustain the humanity? How do we sustain the compassion? How do we sustain the sense of urgency to connect with environment? The climate change that is happening, and people, we hardly talk about it in Malaysia. The environmental, the sustainability, the arts that is realized. Artists realize this very, very much. In one part that is the urgent part that we do, we must have Shangkaree. We must understand that in our education, we see in our children that the digital culture has created a chasm. It has made life more efficient in a certain capitalistic way. But to one extent, you almost feel like with all this digital intelligence and artificial intelligence, you can't even fight COVID.
Because that is nature and biology.
We think that digital technology and artificial intelligence is going to be greater than nature. No, I don't think so. So, and arts is an extension of nature, So this is I feel, this is the challenge as human civilization we have to face.
Very well said. All right. So I just want to add something. This is my own opinion. I was a TV host, and also I have continued doing some work in art, producing digital content and also TV content. So I've noticed this one site called Patreon. Have you guys seen anyone using Patreon here? No? Okay, all right. So there's this site that is actually available in Malaysia, and the spelling is like Patreon but with the E. And what I've noticed with creators overseas who use the digital platform to put out their content, so they constantly promote their followers or their viewers to contribute to their Patreon accounts to keep their art alive and also to help them make an income. So this is like a free will contribution, and I have been actually observing this pattern for some time. Like I've been seeing how much do creatives make using this platform. I thought that it wouldn't really be a viable option, but I'm quite impressed at how people have grown to accept this. So this platform is actually also available in Malaysia, but I don't think too many of us know of it. And perhaps if we start spreading this word about this possibility, or maybe the government actually takes an initiative to build a site or a platform where direct contributions from individual to an institution is allowed. It's a clear, transparent contribution. I think that's a creative way to keep things going. Yeah, just wanted to add that. All right, so we have about 15 minutes left in this discussion, and I would love to hear from everyone on the panel about how you'd love to wrap up this entire topic, and also if you have any more strategies left. I see someone raising their hand. Hi,
Hello.
Frida.
Hello.
Hi, Frida.
I'm not part of the panel, but I've been invited by Encik Salehhuddin, and he might regret this actually. Because I would like to go back to basics. I'm very, very, I love performing arts, dance, singing, and anything to do with performing arts. And in my school, we've made it compulsory, and it's quite big. And we do have shows every year, and we do make money. We sell tickets, for 7 nights a year, our box office performance. And now, of course, everything is online, and people do pay to watch us online. You did mention about the TV program, that program just a Patron, but I think you can make money online, but you have to produce about 500 YouTube's programs before you can make money, because then you make money from adverts and so on and so forth. But I would like to go back to basics actually, from the very beginning. How do you get your audience? Because I've gone to many shows, but I see the same people in the shows and in the same type of shows. So we are not really growing the audience, When I started to make it compulsory in my school, I had 2 objectives actually. One is to, sort of inculcate confidence, poise, and that sort of thing in the children, teamwork, responsibility, commitment, and so on and so forth when you put up a show together, okay? But the other objective is actually to grow the market, to grow the audience. Because you see, if they're not interested, or there's somebody, not happy with what I'm saying. So, if the children, if people are not interested in the arts, they will not even watch you on YouTube. They will not even go to your shows, you see? So actually, we need the audience. So I would like to ask Salehhuddin here, would his ministry consider, I'm sure your ministry's job is to promote culture, right? And what is to do with culture is performing arts, is very much related to culture. So why not you get performers, all these companies, let's say Datuk Ramli, to promote Indian dance in a school, then the Ministry of Culture will pay him for a program that is going to run in X school for 3 years. Then you all will have money, you see. I mean, you cannot just think of a piecemeal, but I think it is also very important in the country, actually, to promote our culture, not just for aesthetic value, but for harmony, for national unity, whatever, for our identity as Malaysians. So maybe the Ministry of Culture should do this, work with the Ministry of Education to allow practitioners to go into schools to produce top quality programs, not just people just trying to teach a little bit of Zapin and so on and so forth. No, it must be with the history of it, with everything that goes with Zapin, So what about that, Cik Salehhuddin?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Frida. It's very good questions, actually. When you mention about programs like that, audience development, when I was in Complex Budaya Negara in the early 90s, where I started my service in the government, and now Istana Complex Budaya Negara became Istana Budaya now. So their objective or the vision of Istana Budaya is supposed to be the excellence of the arts. Whereby that time JKKN has not been transformed into a department, it's just a division in the ministry, Bahagian Kebudayaan or Culture Division. But until 2005, Bahagian Kebudayaan or Culture Division became a department, which is JKKN now, the National Department for Culture and Arts. So they have two different objectives between Istana Budaya and JKKN. So JKKN actually is grassroots, from grassroots up to state level and up to and the career path is the excellence of the arts to Istana Budaya. That is the performing arts career path actually. So, but of course, Malay proverb say, lagikan lidah tergigit. So within departments also, within adik-beradik also, sometimes, you know lah, you all try to be, you know, showing the best lah among, but that's the problem with us lah. Anyway, never mind, just we stop there. When I was started doing that, actually, we think about audience development, as you mentioned just now, Datuk, Rida. How we want to entice audience people to come to the show. People appreciate the arts. So there are two things that as you mentioned just now, I agree with you. The problem with our country is because of policies. Policies in education. It's not easy for us to penetrate arts program in education. We have been trying our best. It still be under co-curriculum, not curriculum. That's why we want to produce Malaysian. Even though he's a lawyer, he's a doctor, he's a non-culture thing, but love to go to arts program, watch Datuk Ramli performing, watch music, Cik Ayob playing guitar, and acting and so on. So this is what we like international. Even during the appreciate of the visual arts, if you see in the Western world, every weekend they bring their family to art gallery, a long queue, bring children, things like that. So I do hope, okay, this is the compliment I want to share with you. Recently on the 26th of October, the Honorable Prime Minister of Malaysia has launched our new national culture policy. The first culture policy was actually formulated in 1971, Dasar Kebudayaan Kebangsaan, they call it. So now after 50 years, they have formed. So this is the role of Bahagian Dasar or Policy Division in the ministry. So I am the policy division in the agency. So we are the implementer. So direction comes from the policy division in the ministry. So whatever ministry asks us to do, so we have to abide whatever is being asked. So I want to share with you the newly formulated Dasar Kebudayaan Negara now, they call it, or National Culture Policy, or acronym named DAKN. They have 7 main trusts supported by the 3 previously, which are the most important institution of Malay rulers as a symbol of state, Malay as a national language, and Islam as the official religion. But the trusts that the new they build is a high culture value. So these are the things that we want to go into. Harmonized society, preservation and conservation of the cultural heritage, development and expansion of culture, empowerment of culture, economic generation. This is the most important thing. Usually we used to do arts for art's sake, art for community, but now art for economic generation. So like how Temple of Fire and Art became an institution producing arts, a production, Datuk Ramli, Sutra Foundation, and the rest. So these are the things that we need. And of course, the last one is the art excellence. So I do hope within this frame of the new national policy, so it will a bit easier for us to talk not only education ministry, but to any, because culture belongs to everybody. Everybody, but they need to have a leader in the culture, for example. So the Ministry of Culture will be the forefather of the whole thing, or the godfather, Akapun, yeah. So I think hopefully by the existing of the new culture policy will give a good impact for us to penetrate into whatever, into audience development, into going into schools, education, arts and culture, not as a co-curriculum but as a curriculum. We have already art school already for in Malaysia, and we have a program of crème de la crème. We call it Genius Seni, dulu Permata Seni. So now under JKKN supervision that we produce crème de la crème of music, children from the music, from vocal, choir, and also dance. So we'll expand more later on. So these are the special selected, the child prodigy, to develop their talent, and for to flood the market later on. Maybe out of 10, 2 or 3 will like the children will pursue their career in arts, and good for the local university to have a well-trained student as early young age, and they need just to polish the jewels. So I think hopefully I'll take that challenge of the audience development. Yeah, true. It is very important. When we did, we want to expose theatre, paying theatre. Those days, everything free. So when we try to impose tickets, they say, why must pay? Why must pay? Even 5 ringgit those days. I remember I sell ticket 5 ringgit to see symphony orchestra concert. There will be problem, but later on it growing. Before we have Istana Budaya, to ask people to pay to see the arts, because we have to lift up the value of the artistic value, and what supposed the artist to be paid, not undervalue. So it has to be raised to the certain esteem. So I do hope that this DACAN can guide, and also can be the references to develop the whole thing and change the landscape of the arts and culture in Malaysia. So, and mentality actually. So it has to start from, thank you for supporting Datuk Farida, because you started your school with also a curriculum that every pupils must go into your performing arts program, which I personally attended to one of your concert previous year, and I do admire that how you train the students at very young age. They have the high level of talents. So like I said, budaya, arts is culture, and arts is not only for my department or my ministry, but also belongs to everybody. So we must work closely. It's like I do always engage with arts practitioners. I make friends with everybody, because for the sake of the arts development and sustainable growth, like what we have been a signatory of the SDG of Convention UNESCO. So we have to preserve our national culture heritage. And also, like I mentioned by Dr. Paranjothy, that there are already in place about tax exemption, tax rebates for those who sponsor the arts, company or even individual, up to 1 million rebates and tax incentive for those supporting the arts. So, except these are not well taken by the corporates and also the individuals. They prefer to go under their CSR program. So why must you go under CSR program, whereby you can get tax rebates and tax incentive from sponsoring the arts? So, but the ministry will from time to time perhaps will do more on the promoting this, so that we can get lots of money coming in to help the arts through a special fund. So I think that I can wrap up it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Salehhuddin, and also just introduction that we had Datuk Frida of Cempaka Schools join us and ask that question, and also oppose a challenge to JKKN, and I believe that it was in a very healthy communication just now, that we hope that things are going to, all the concerns expressed by these important individuals are taken into consideration so that we can together work hand in hand to just bring the arts industry in Malaysia further and beyond. Just to wrap up this session, I would like to just go round and get some last words from every member of our panel. Perhaps I'll start with Encik Salehhuddin.
Okay, let's work together. Let's work together and paint a new landscape of arts and culture in Malaysia. Put aside our differences, put aside our political will and so on. I think as a nation, as Malaysian who love the arts and culture, I think we can work. We cohesively we can put up the arts and culture to the higher level and be appreciated by all Malaysian. And JKKN has covered holistically the whole. Provided whatever you come from is will cover from Perlis up to Sabah and Sarawak. Either Malay, Chinese, Indian, ethnic Sabah Sarawak, the indigenous orang asli and so on. So it covered everybody. So nobody left behind. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Encik Salehhuddin. And moving on to Datuk Ramli Ibrahim. Datuk, can I please have you unmute your video?
My last word is that let's have that communication between artists, scholar, and bureaucrats as much as possible. I appeal to bureaucrats to really turun padang a little bit more. Scholars also to be in the field a bit more, and not just in Kuala Lumpur, but outside Kuala Lumpur also. And I have to really we have to check, just because we write the national cultural policy or the dasar policy kebangsaan and negara and all that kind of thing doesn't mean it happened. Someone has to work hard to make it happen, to get it out to the people, to communicate, because arts and culture in Malaysia, unlike in Indonesia, is not under one ministry. Like what you said, the right hand, sometimes I don't know what the left hand is doing. And we really need to work together to bring out the diversity and the richness of Malaysian culture, especially the Malay culture, I thought, which has undergone drastic problematic area due to the Talibanization, the Islamization, the fundamentalist area, especially in Kelantan, Terengganu area. So whether or not UNESCO has made Mak Yong heritage thing, but the fact is that Mak Yong is really on a decline. As much as you can say that Istana Budaya is doing it, but actually in the real life it is really going down. So this is my last.
Thank you very much, Datuk Ramli. And I think that's a very in-depth thought that you have shared with us. Thank you very much. Moving on to Encik Ayob. Encik Ayob?
Yeah, my last word. I wish to see the formal forum being set up and involve these three important ministries: the cultural, arts, with education, and the multimedia communication ministries, where all these culture and arts and industry leaders sit together in this consistently organized forum to troubleshoot and to suggest anything, like Dr. Ramli said. Even it's difficult to fill up the form to ask for the grant. This is the forum that we need to listen. The government need to listen to the practitioners, not the other way around. You don't set the policy without them. It's going to be, the trouble will occur somewhere. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Encik Ayob. Dr. Paranjothy?
No, thank you for organizing this forum. I think it's a beautiful forum, and we have brought a lot of issues to the front. Let's work together. That's all. Thank you.
I would also love to hear from Datuk Frida, if you're still online.
Yes, I think first of all, thank you very much for having me. And I think it's right, you know, what Datuk Ramli said just now, all of us need to work together, from schools to universities to the public, you know. We need to create that huge audience that really will embrace performing arts. And then only we don't have to talk about, you know, we have a pandemic and there's this money problem and so on and so forth, because then we'll be there. People will crave for us. They want to be part of their soul, you see. So I think we need to create this, you know, interest right from when they're in schools. So that's all that I have to say. And I'm so happy that Salehhuddin is very open to this. And let's work together, maybe form a strong committee and send a letter of request that they should support performing arts in all schools, especially government schools.
Thank you, Datuk Frida. And Ms. Sujietra?
Okay. Well, Sugam, we are firm believer of education in the arts. So as much as we do cultural preservation, but I totally agree with what Datuk Frida had said, that we have to use arts for unity. So it has to become actually a part of the system and not as co-curriculum like what we have right now. So to become part of, because you see, currently all the arts education that we have is private. It's privatized, which means only those who can afford that little bit will pay and come. As much as schools who do sponsorships and all that for the arts, but for it to become not affordable, for it to become accessible, then it has to be part of a system. And for it to be part of a system, you have to go into schools because that's where it starts. And to create the audience that we want, tak kenal maka tak cinta. If they don't know what the arts is, macam mana nak cinta? How to come for programs? You don't have to become an artist, but you need to at least appreciate it, isn't it? But if you don't know what it is, how to appreciate? So that education has to start in school. And for that, people like all of us here and artists or practitioners or institutions need to go into the school level. And this has to become part of the school system, that every child learns the arts, just like how they learn math or science or geography or history. They all don't become historians, you know, but they all learn history, isn't it? Just like that, arts has to become part of the education. And for unity's sake, for this country, more than, I mean, we all know all the food, what the Malays eat, what the Chinese eat, what the Indian eat. Why can't we unite through the arts as well? Arts is a beautiful, it can become a beautiful bridge. If I understand your culture and if you understand my culture, we can become best of friends. We don't have to become like each other, but we can appreciate each other and live in harmony. So this is my parting words, and thank you for all of you for being here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We started this discussion by saying let's just run through this topic to see what are the setbacks and how we are going to move forward. But after hearing each and every one of you share what you have been through, I feel that perhaps there was a blessing in the pandemic. Perhaps just very much like the void and darkness of a cocoon, we are going to grow into this beautiful butterfly in time to come. And I hope that everyone present here, the panelists, and also all of our viewers, do work hand in hand to just bring the arts industry up. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you to our panel, Encik Salehhuddin, the Deputy Director General from JKKN, Datuk Ramli Ibrahim, founder of Sutra Dance Theatre and Sutra Foundation, Encik Ayob, Lecturer of Faculty of Music ASWARA, Dr. Paranjothy, President of Temple of Fine Arts, Ms. Sujietra Jayaseelan, founder of Sugam Foundation. My name is Shangkaree, and it has been an absolute pleasure to be your moderator this evening. I wish you all the best, and thank you very much once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shangkaree.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shangkaree. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.